when it comes to like, you are definitely, like, someone I know who has a very raunchy sense of humor, and you have no shame in it,
Oh dear
and
God.
what are your biggest comedic influences? Like, what shows and people make you laugh the most?
Oh God. I don't know. There's a lot I feel like there's a thing you got to influence every day yourself with. My takeaway is you never just stay with one thing. I know there's people that are like super into TV shows and whatnot, and for me, a lot of the time it's like looking at like older things and where they kind of age, but at the same time trying to like adapt it to like like obviously like back then things might not age as well or other things might age perfectly.
Right.
Um Let me think off the top of my head. Robin Williams is, phenomenal and hilarious, and he's always been, like, the guy that would do anything for a good laugh just for the sake of making others happy, and,
Mhm,
God rest his soul, he was a very phenomenal influence.
mhm.
Jim Carrey, wacky above everything, he actually, grew up near, not too far from, like, where I'm at, so that's my little bit of Canadian pride over there.
Mhm.
Let me think. Trying to think here. Like, at an early age, my cousin, Matthew, he was probably one of the funniest people I ever knew in my entire life, growing up. Um, Man, there's just, like, so many, influences I could kinda, like, pick from, like, the top of my head, but in regards to, like, prime ones, it's I guess I kinda came unprepared with this question. There's
No,
just, a
it's
lot that's
alright.
just kinda, like, thinking here. These days, I would say, I think Eric Andre is one of the most fucking bravest people out there. He's a
Yeah.
nihilist, but, like, I just really find his humor astounding. It's just, like, the man just kind of gives it just, like, literally puts out a mirror over, like, how hilariously bad things can get. It's almost, like, brilliantly satirical. I went to go see him live back in Toronto with my friend Zach, and it was probably one of the best stand-ups I ever saw in my life. The man, like,
Right.
literally and yeah, he actually will, goes around stripping naked and people are drinking ranch. It's actually one of those kind of parties.
Yeah, I believe
Oh,
it.
oh, yeah, actually for, humor influence, I guess in regards to, like, internet personalities, AVGN was a good start,
Mhm.
always is, still a classic to these days. Um I really dug, Ethan's style in his early H3 videos. I can't say I really follow his stuff all that much anymore because it got, like, it went, like, in a completely, different side of the spectrum to, what many of us are kinda used to or agree to, but, you gotta appreciate, like, back then,
Yeah.
the kinda, like, humor you grew up with, so, you might not appreciate the person, like, so much with what they're doing now or, moved on or whatever, but that's pretty good. Critical, Penguin Zero, Mr. Charlie, he is probably, like, one of my, biggest ones, like, growing up, like, in the early, YouTube era. I was actually following him ever since, like, I think Advanced Lawnmower Simulator and,
Yeah.
with his, perfect monotone voice is like, going around with Cyclops fucking having sex with owls, and what's with this triangular ironclad nipple over there, fucking Mother Nature? I just love how everything he says is just, like, such a monotone and, like, raunchy sentence, but he's using, like,
Yeah.
the most obtuse wording. Is that the right word I'm using?
I have no idea.
He's, like, we're using the most, like he's, like, using, like, the most, like, weirdest terms, and I absolutely love that, and I guess a part of me is, I read, like, a lot of comics and films and things like that for, being, like, a big media guy. I guess a part of me is just, like, I've always been attracted to the idea of, just jumping people with, like, different kinds of definitions and words. I never like to use the same terminology of like, great, good. It becomes a bit of a pet peeve for me. As
Yeah.
Christian Bale kind of said, the worst thing you could do with your life is make it boring. And I try and make it interesting, even just like through vocabulary, if I could. I try and be as colorful
Mhm.
as possible. So I guess a part of that is all these sort of influences just have me try and paint the best picture I can make out of the things. I could just make any sort of like cock and ball jokes all I want and, just like the typical thing. Or I could do something completely out there and perverse and make something in the level of internet common etiquette, you know? I don't
Yeah,
know how he comes up with a bunch of that stuff, but it's effing brilliant.
exactly. Yeah, 'cause like, even when I write video essays, I always feel the need to check to do to use my Finder to make sure that I'm not using the same words over and over again, and if I do, then I have to get a synonym because like, it's even that same pet peeve you'll have when people read like, where they read videos in the same cadence over and over again. It drives me nuts when they don't realize how repetitive they sound, and,
Yeah, like,
like,
you wanna give a bit
yeah.
of life to the characters. You have them seem like, you feel like if you use, like, too many of the same words, they kind of feel, they kind of feel like too monotone, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, especially yeah, like, if you add variety in your languages, you have something interesting. If you're doing the same words over and over again, you're just watch mojo.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, the aim here for me is just try and be as specific with what you're communicating as possible, and sometimes it just goes down to narrowing to, weird ass words you gotta use sometimes. Like what
Exactly.
I just said earlier was just like goblin hieroglyphics. I don't know what that fucking means, but that just makes as much sense as, you know, what I went through. So just like it's as alarming with the confusion as, anyone else who'd be hearing it. And it sounds funny, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like honestly, sometimes like, that's why I think that's why the phrase, like, "You're pulling that out of your ass" is so funny because it's just you're because it's the funniest place to come out. If you're pulling a random phrase out of your butt, it's gonna make people laugh no matter what. Because it's like, "What the fuck? That doesn't make any
It's
sense."
unexpected. I think that's one of the things with comedy is just like really giving them a sense of being unexpected with something, because you get,
Yeah.
like, too many sitcoms where it's just like they need a laugh track, they need to rely on a recording of dead
Uh-huh.
people laughing from 200 years ago
Mhm.
on, a joke that everyone's kinda gonna go see, like, it's kinda gonna see coming, but,
Yeah.
it's just like you kinda do something, like, completely left field that the humor is gonna come itself, like, none of the guests, like, know what Eric Andre is gonna pull out of him, you know, Whose Line has some phenomenal improv, and like we don't know what's gonna happen, but somehow it just comes so organically and off the top of their heads. These guys are all phenomenal, like Ryan Stiles, Colin Mockery, Wayne Brady, Greg Proops, all the guests they have. It's just like they work in such a great collaboration, and it's just like phenomenal, like kind of what comes out sometimes. And that's the kind of thing that I want to maybe like help train myself every day is just having that sense of communication. It's going to help with both a comedic route and I guess with communicating with people in general. If you could make them laugh, you could do anything.
Exactly. It is the ultimate charisma test.
hmm I think it also helps that I went to like acting school and you know, got kicked out and then went to business school right after. So it's an interesting balance between knowing what to say and how to say it at this point. So
Yeah. It's definitely something if I ever have kids, like, I should say, like, no matter what they do with their life, I would heavily encourage them to take marketing or something. Because that way, if they know how whatever they go into life, they know how to sell themselves in any way they can. Granted,
yeah,
there are yeah.
marketing or even drama and like school starting out because when I was like in high school, I had to get community hours just like any other good boy Christian school out there. And what I was doing, I was part of a library, event organization team called Teen Advisory Group, which was called TAG, and
Mhm.
I was, one of the big fans of Whose Line, like I mentioned, so I dedicated, like, a whole thing with, doing, like, an improv night with people just kinda getting together, and one of my and I know, like, a few people, one of them I think is, my friend's, girlfriend, and they managed to get themselves involved, and they're, really nervous introverts, and some of them actually managed to, like, help get some communication skills out of this and, learn some like jumping, like, keeping them on their toes and knowing how to address audiences and how to work with what they got. I think it's a good skill to have. Just improv is one of the most important things. And especially we just like encourage it with like a lot of the projects that we do. It
Mhm.
doesn't always have to be the greatest thing in the world, but it kind of helps get something organically. And we hit some real big zingers. Some of our biggest laughs we've ever had was based on improv.